Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this latest edition of Tales from Outer Space, where I take stories from across the internet and read them for your entertainment. This particular story is called This is Sparta, written by ForUseAtWorkx. Excerpt Personal Journal of Professor Coleoptera, Day 247 of Year 15,029, Standard Calendar. I'm excited, part of the initial colonization team on the planet Lace Daybon. I'm one of 42 Atleebs that were contracted by the humans to assist with taming this world. I like working with the humans. They are one of the few mammalian species in the communion that don't find it odd that an insectoid species isn't monoculture. I think it is because they are from a monoculture themselves and show only signs of growing diversity. This may be due to their ever-expanding list of subspecies being engineered for the diverse worlds they continue to colonize. We Tariat Atleebs have enjoyed a fruitful partnership with the humans since a few decades after they burst onto the galactic stage and started their expansion like so many young species do, when practical interstellar travel is obtained. It has been a partnership good for both of us. They benefit from our experience and allowed themselves to be guided by our counsel, the latter allowing them to avoid many of the mistakes we made as we ventured forth into a large universe. They brought to us an infectious vigor for discovery and growth that had waned in us centuries ago. We make planetfall in 14 hours, standard time. This world is all untamed wilderness. I look forward to the challenges ahead and a chance to use my skills as a xenobotanist. I've been watching the ion storms from the observation lounge. I have so many ideas I want to try to fully adapt the food crops to withstand them. Excerpt Personal Journal of Professor Coleoptera, Day 22 of Year 15,045, Standard Calendar. This season's harvest is bountiful. I think we have finally solved the problem with engineering a strain of rice that not only can survive, but actually thrive here, and still contain all the essential amino acids needed for humans. There are anecdotal reports of it growing in the wild now. My friend Dr. Lee has invited me to speak to his school's young students tomorrow about how we develop food crops for this world again this year. It is amazing how adaptive human young are. They treat me like an honored elder, though I am barely middle-aged. Tomorrow will be enjoyable. If the kindergartners are well behaved, I'll let them climb upon my carapace for a ride around their outdoor play area. On a more serious note, the Bellator Alteeb's politics have been growing volatile. Dr. Lee calls it saber-rattling. As a ranking militia officer here, I trust his judgment on security matters. Excerpt Personal Journal of Coleoptera, Day 101 of Year 15,046, Standard Calendar. Bellator Alteebs, much to my concern and embarrassment, have grown adversarial of late. They have a firebrand new leader who is calling for expansion and riding a wave of xenophobia. I find this unsettling. I thought Alteebs and even the Bellator had grown past cycles of such incivility. Dr. Lee and I discussed Earth history today, and some of his personal history. I'm not sure how I didn't know this, but it turns out Dr. Lee was once Colonel Lee of the Terran Rangers. I have always thought of him as a soft-spoken, gray-haired history professor, a school administrator and self-described paper pusher during his rotation in the militia. Fascinating. He also told me that the rumors of the foundation of a second settlement are true and an official announcement was imminent. They have identified a site on the southern continent that seems to only get storms infrequently and offers favorable soil conditions. We all know how difficult it has been to find both things in one location. I may soon have a whole new biome to explore. Excerpt Personal Journal of Professor Coleoptera, Day 101 of Year 15,046 Standard Calendar. I spoke to Dr. Lee over the long-range comms today. He was excited by the impending arrival of the museum ship Herodotus. Humans continue to surprise and delight me. What other species would build the ships to visit colony worlds and allow their fellows to see firsthand rare artifacts and experience the finest of virtual environments of their early civilizations? When I return to my own university, I hope to champion this idea for my people. I should return to the city in time to tour the vessel. I greatly look forward to this. Dr. Lee tells me that there are some examples of early human warrior armors that remind him of me. I think this was a joke. Some human jokes still confused me. On a personal note, my survey team got caught out in a nasty ion storm while on the southern continent. The humans were fine in their emergency environmental suits. In my arrogance, I assumed my carapace would protect me as it always has. We evolved with similar storms after all. I got fairly well cooked. I guess I'll be molting early this season. Dr. Mardon seems to think that the planet has experienced a cyclical peak of storm activity during his forecast update. It looks like the larger storm that we have observed will hit home soon. I just called our little city home. Everyone just calls it the city. I suppose the colony planners have some ideas for names for both cities that they will tell all of us about soon enough. I suspect they'll debate it endlessly. Excerpt Personal Journal of Professor Diaper Coleoptera, Day 109 of Year 15,046 Standard Calendar. This is bad. Very, very bad. Our aero shuttle made it in just before the impeding massive storm. A standard hour more, and we would have had to divert and land and wait out the storm in the shuttle. Dr. Mardon is calling the storm a typhoon. He said that he was going to reactivate the ancient tradition of naming large storms. As familiar as I am with humans, I forgot that I have an affinity for naming No, I must not get distracted with such. The storm is the least of our worries. I'm nervous and terrified and may expel my nutrients. From the aero shuttle viewpoints, we saw landing crafts, Balator Altib's military landing craft, enough to hold 5,000 warriors. They had landed on the other side of the mountains from the city. Dr. Lee, now being referred to as Colonel by everyone, has added me to his war council. From our initial briefing, it appears that the Balators have decided to take this world in the opening of the expansion war. Our satellites were destroyed, and we can't get a signal out. Dr. Lee thinks that they want the infrastructure intact, or they would have bombarded us from orbit. The Balator have been broadcasting a call for unconditional surrender. This is not even the worst of it. This is why I may yet eject my meal, as a small raiding party attacked the museum ship and took human young as hostages. In the communication, a Balator commander eviscerated 3 of them, slowly, one after the other. The Balators have gone mad. The humans are reacting most strangely. They are showing none of the emotion I expected from them. It is like they have gone cold. Interview of Professor Diaper Coleoptera, Day 003 of Year 15,155 Standard Calendar. I was with them, you know. I volunteered. My compound eyes had evolved to see in ion storms, and my carapace was evolved to protect me. Even so, I was in an environment suit. It was an uncomfortable thing. I felt claustrophobic in it. I'm sorry. You're not here to listen to me rambling of an old bug, are you? Bug. Yes, I said that. I'm not offended. The humans young on Lace-Damon called me Uncle Bug long before it became a slur. Anyway, you want to see if you can collect some memories that isn't in the official reports and the woefully inaccurate dramas, don't you? You aren't the first one, and even though I'm in the twilight of my life, you won't be the last. Interview interrupted by Elder Care Facility robot attending to Professor Diaper Coleoptera. Continued. Interview of Professor Diaper Coleoptera, Day 003 of Year 15,155 Standard Calendar. Where was I? Oh yes, I was about to tell you about the flawed strategy of the Balators, no? Well, that is what I am going to tell you anyway. The typhoon had 2 effects in the battle. First, it grounded all aircraft from both sides. Not even guided ballistics were viable. Second, it made the energy-based weapons we had at the time suicidal to use. I understand that the engineers have long since solved that issue. But back then, if you pulled the trigger, the beam would interact with the ion storm. You would disappear into your constituent atoms. The Battle of Lace-Damon was fought hand to hand, as the humans say, with actual melee weapons. The Balators were counting on this. They wanted to take the city and its inhabitants whole. The city for its infrastructure and the humans for additional hostages. The Balators thought that our imposing size and natural armor would demoralize the humans. They had never seen humans in that state of mind, though. None of us had. I thought they had gone cold when their children were murdered. I would have been more afraid of them than that damn storm if I knew what I know now. You know Colonel Lee, correct? He is remembered for many things, but he was first and foremost a historian. He was inspired by the Herodotus. No, not the ancient human, you dolt, the museum ship. You could use a good museumship right now. I should get off this cot and smack your egg-addled head with my manipulators. Interview interrupted by an elder care facility robot attending to Professor Dipocoleoptera. Continued interview of Professor Dipocoleoptera, day 003 of year 15,155, standard calendar. Get off of me, you three-armed mechanical e-social bastard cobras. I'm not going to attack him. No! That was one time. Fine. Yeah, well, you were programmed by an egg-addled discipulus. These bots get more and more bossy with me every time I molt. I'm old, not a child to be minded. Back to the story. Dr. Lee was a historian and a military man. He probably knew more about human ground combat than anyone in the sector of space. He showed the weapons from the museum ship Herodotus to the city's fabricators. They produced modern variants with superior metallurgy and a few more modern innovations. Colonel Lee, yes, I mean Colonel, not Doctor. Do not interrupt me again. Do not. Not during this part. Colonel Lee took over every virtual simulator in the city and gave the militia a crash course in melee battle tactics against the L-Teeb's physiology. He had a xenobiologist from the past control team map out weaknesses in the Balator's body structure. A small force of militia volunteers intercepted the Balators in the mountain pass approximately 42.2 kilometers from the city. It was a natural choke point. The rest stayed behind to fortify and defend the city. Colonel Lee had an excavation team plant charges along the path. We hid, and we waited. The Balators came marching through the pass in parade formation. They even had music playing. The arrogant bugs were literally having a parade. Then the charges went off, and the mountain fell on them. A full regiment died or was disabled. I think the commanders were too stupefied to order a retreat. Instead, they just stopped their remaining warriors. They stopped in the narrow mountain pass, around 2,000 of them. What Colonel Lee did next still haunts my dreams. Have you ever heard of the rebel yell? No? Well, it was a tactic from the dark period of human history. They had a war over whether or not one sentient could own another. Close your slack-jawed maw. Do they not teach you history anymore? Or manners? Fully half of the members of the Diet have such horrors in their past. Right, the rebel yell. On command, every human militia member began to scream all at once. Have you ever heard a human scream? Imagine 300 of them at once, amplified by their environment suit's comms. Typhoon was at its zenith. The sky was all boiling colors. The air was electric, literally. Ion discharges sparked off their environment suits and their archaic weapons. This maddening, eerie wail overtook the noise of the storm. Colonel Lee ordered me to fall back, ordered me to do my duty as a scout and observe and report back to the city what I saw. He gave me one other order as well. What I saw was this. I saw 300 humans charge into a formation of 2,000 Balator warriors. I saw a rage of mothers and fathers made real. I saw carapaces cracked by magnetically accelerated warhammers. I saw a petite human woman who I had only known as friendly kindergarten teaching aides cleave a bug 3 times her size in two with a laser-heated Lochabar axe. I saw humans rampage. I saw all of civilization fall away from them. I saw Colonel Lee jam a gladius into the eye of the Balator commander as he disappeared under a mass of 3 warriors pulling him off the commander's dying body. I saw things that will forever haunt me. Even when the battle had been won and only a dozen humans still stood, I saw them run after almost 1,000 retreating warriors and fight them until the very last human died. That human, I never knew his name, crawled along on his arms with a long knife in his hand after a Bellator motive claw snapped through his abdomen. I could hear him challenging them to come back and fight him until his voice died away. I saw the barren mountain pass run both red and purple from the blood as the most monstrous storm I had ever experienced truly started. You know the rest. The humans on Lace Damon were reinforced 4 days later by a full Terran battle group. A human pilot had flown an aero shuttle into orbit using boosters the city engineers strapped onto it and got the signal out. It was a one-way trip for him. Those shuttles were never meant to leave the atmosphere. The city stood even after the Bellators regrouped and attached with their remaining forces. Those images of human children being butchered by that rotten cloacaire of a Bellator commander were rebroadcast over and over through the worlds of the Diet. The humans would broadcast it at Bellator ships and stations as they attacked them. None of the others in the Diet joined the humans in their crusade. The Diet ultimately declared their actions to be a disproportionate response, even though they never used weapons of mass destruction. No one stopped them either. They make excuses about trade and non-interference now, but I think they were just afraid. Even now, humans are shied away from in some circles. That is a story for another day, though. The Last Order? Ah, yes. There is your bit of new history. That is how the city got its name. Thermopylae. Now, go away. It's time for my evening meal. They are serving the fruit-flavored gelatin that Dr. Lee introduced me to. Interviewer's note of Professor Dipo Coleoptera passed away that night in his sleep. Day 004 of year 15,155 standard calendar. He was 250 years old. End of story. I'd quickly like to thank the T5 peeps: Cold War Boomerwaffen, Severin Cerberus, Bushmaster 177, Henry the Red, Caspar Arnholtz, Cold War Boomerwaffen, Elijah Silvercross, Dragzoon WRE, and Severin Cerberus. Thank you very much.